Okay, so I'm going to be recording today's lessons because there's no attendance. And again, I will go through the lessons. Obviously, as you can see, it's quite a short lesson. So is the following one as well. But if there are, like I've said in the group, guys, if you do have any questions or whatever it may be, you are allowed to just organize a private session. I see that some people have load shedding problems and other people are stuck at work. So let's leave it at that. And again, rather watch the video and again, just follow up the content. Like I say, do the exercises that I'm going to go through, obviously your textbooks and whatever it may be. And then please, yeah, like I said, follow up on that and then try and just plan your pre-plan like these situations. Again, I've had load shedding, I've got load shedding. I'm not sure as to what the connection problems are, but I connect fine during load shedding and I use Cell C. Cell C used to never ever work because it was situational. I'm saying to you in terms of their transmission, their dot transmission to certain areas. Obviously, when there was a blackout, then it would just stop. So those are the others of the sister services, and Vodacom and MTN used to work. I'm seeing you a little bit of the rundown. That has changed, and that during load shedding, like you should be able to have your data. I'm saying to your signal and you should be able to connect to a network. All right. Just check that and double check that so then you don't just assume that you have no access to the class itself. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do this short lesson just to end the creating content part, which is super important. Obviously, a big focus of your summative, should I say, summative one that is coming up in, well, basically, it's about 30 days or so that you'll have to submit that. And yeah, and it just take notes, please, because the thing is that because of I see the mark allocation and how much depends on that. Like really do practice. I see that a few students do mail me. They just DM me directly on WhatsApp, and they are sending me their content, which is great. I love that. Very proactive, and I will obviously assess as I have, and I will respond directly to you and give you some feedback. So please keep that kind of proactive approach, and let's move on just from there. Okay, just give me a second. I just want to sort of pause for a second. Okay. Right, so let's just review again. So you remember this from the last lesson where we had the Mexican on the bicycle concept, and as you can see of the diagram there, let's just kind of recap on that, where you have your thought process in the middle, and when you're looking at a link and you form it and like you're forming a link. Well, you've got to look at your obligation. So, what it is that you have promised by setting up the hook, and that which we'll explain a little more of today in today's class. The obligation that you have to the listener, your obviously thought, and then the thought, which is not as simple and simplistic as you see in the diagram, but it is where the beef of the content comes in and the link comes in. And again, that constructed thought process of moving forward, where the listener can move forward with you. Well, I mean, that's what we really want, because then you're going to have these great reactions. They're going to really obviously enjoy the link, and they're going to be captivated by the fact that they're invested in the link, right? So then you come out, the obligation has been fulfilled. And I think in the previous lesson, I must have described this because it was either, maybe it came up again in the second years, I'm not too sure. But I did mention one of the ways you could look at it was, I said I studied film, and the thing is that one of the basic concepts was that when you watch a film in the first 5 to 10 minutes, like the director slash obviously the screenwriter and the entire team, the producer, whatever it is, they make a they make a promise in a way to you. In the first 5 to 10 minutes, you will be able to almost predict an outcome at the end. And if you come to the end of the movie and you're kind of like jarred and you're kind of like lost or whatever it is because that outcome wasn't met, it's considered a bad movie and it is rated as a bad movie. So it's not that you know exactly what's going to happen at the end of the movie, but the thing is that like it will make it all comes together because of how it was set up in the beginning. So again, this is basically the same kind of format where you're telling them, you're introducing them to this piece of content that you're doing. It could be an interview, it could be a call out, it could be a standalone like pre-recorded piece or whatever it is. And they, like at the end of that, you would have promised them something. You would have dedicated yourself to the listener with, let's say, for example, an interview. The interview you will have sold as having certain information, or it'll be about certain subject matter. But the thing is that, like going through, let's say a listener will hear this interview that you've done, maybe live, like I say, or pre-recorded, and some of the maybe obvious questions were not answered, or even the ones that we are not so obvious, but are definitely like relevant to speaking to this particular person, this expert professional, an actor. It doesn't really matter, right? Like there would be like holes within the link, right, and in the interview itself. And so, in that case, you would have not fulfilled your obligation because you had promised them one thing, you really didn't give them anything of that sort or close to it, or anything that is, like I say, even missing a piece or two won't exactly sit well with the listener at the end of the day. So, there's 5 rules of storytelling, and I'm going to go through them because it is a confusing concept, I would say, when you are trying to start out like you are in first year. And let's try and kind of break it down. I'm going to be using that particular call out piece that I have sent to you on the group that I prepared for the third years. But I think it's relevant that you do understand from the very first year how there is research that's put in. There's certain aspects that we want to talk about, and we'll pull that out in preparing for a link. It'll have definite, so it'll have a very pragmatic. In other words, it'll also make sense as it moves from one piece to another piece of that link. And then there'll be the call out in this particular case, because it is a call out. So there will be a call to action asking the listener to respond to us, on certain mediums or whatever it may be. Ideally, a voice note or a live call is how you should be responding with the caller or interacting with them at the end of the day. Use social media for like adding value. Like for example, like I say, best example is really like running a poll for before or after you do a piece of content. So before is a good idea because you can always kind of ask a like a side-ended question. So in other words, a question that's not exactly the same question that you'll be asking out on air to give it another dimension. You can also try and test to see what people respond to and how much of that is obviously a majority and whatever it may be. And you can actually kind of cater and refine your call out before you go on air, and obviously refer to that when you are on air. We put the poll up like on Twitter, whatever it may be. We had a certain response. I'll tell you why we are using it. If you have noticed in the past couple of days, and then you would carry on, for example. So that would be part of like the introduction of that link, the hook, essentially. Um, if we look at these 5 steps here, the hook, and I think I've explained this again, but I'm going to explain this again so that you understand. The first, it's theoretically the first 7 to 20 seconds should be the hook, but it might take a little bit longer, realistically, about 30 seconds, maybe, but nothing more than that. It's the way that you come into the link and you make it stand out. So some way of stating something in a way that obviously like catches someone's attention. It obviously makes their ear a little wider, if you can kind of imagine it in the car. It's kind of blinking on and off, and I'm like, oh no, no, I've got to listen to this because it's a way that we are hooking them, just like you are when you are fishing or whatever it may be, right? So the hook has to be a, a unique way in which you enter a conversation, right? So don't think too creatively and don't think too hard about it, because you're going to complicate things for yourself, and it's going to come out too, again, convoluted or confusing and maybe a little bit showy, which isn't really necessary at the end of the day to just catch someone's attention. Just bring up a topic that you have planned, or a content piece that you have planned, or an interview that you want to start, and and bring it up in a way that just is, again, original, and it is interesting, and it is rich, and definitely obviously showcases your personality, but definitely tells us a little bit about what to expect in the next couple of seconds slash minutes, right? So the crumbs that you see there, step two, it's kind of building that structure, around what you had just opened up with the hook. So, for example, if you had opened up with a hook, let me try and think of today. So, for example, today, like I went to go watch. I mean, I was very excited about it. It was really good. I watched the premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because I do reviews for Disney, as I've said to you before. So this was the highlight of my day. Like I did a lot of things, but I will be like in my hook, I'll be like, okay, so today traumatically started in a way that at the end of, what I found to be super exciting, was just ending in tears, man. And it was traumatic as I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on premiere from Marvel and Disney. For example, it wasn't the best hook. I'm saying, I'm just try and maybe redo that. So um, it is finally here. It is here for me, and mostly of no, that's not good either. Let me give this like 2 seconds of thought so I can actually just give you something that is good. Okay. Okay. So here's something that might work. Okay. So today and this week, actually for you on the 5th, which is this Friday, marks the end of a 10-year journey that we've had with a certain arc story of Marvel, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is one of our favorites. I think it's always a fan favorite, and maybe it's a world favorite. The Guardians of the Galaxy, a third volume, comes out this week. But I went this morning and I was blessed by watching the premiere, which I will review and make available to you in just a moment. So that's okay. It's a hook. I don't mind that as well. That was kind of obviously just putting a little bit of context, a little bit of more, a little bit of a little bit of drama, and then just stating without too much mysticism, what exactly I'm going to be talking about. Then I would see the crumbs. So, for example, like this might be a movie review, hashtag maybe also a slightly bit of a call out. The crumbs are now going to be about me giving maybe the background of, for example, just slightly how I am definitely a geek. I and I've proven that in podcasts, and I've proven that in TV shows, and I've proven that in real life. Like, again, because I live in a literal man cave here at home. So watching Marvel movies, big fan, been a fan my entire life, just generally about the comics, cartoons, or whatever it may be. Today was truly like a milestone because it did mark the end, and it does mark the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy saga, right? Which is not a spoiler at all. It is just inevitable, and you'll see it in literally every review that you will come across. Should you read one, in the next like 24 hours or so. The secret is obviously to kind of keep all the really great and well, surprising and emotional parts that you want to experience for yourself. We know we hate kind of like people who spoil a movie for us, but back to obviously the movie itself, back to Guardians of the Galaxy. This again has a team up of, and then I'll name the director and the producer, whatever it may be. Right. So I'm starting to now build a little bit of a direction to the dress up. The dress up will be the essence of what happened. I'll pull out some highlights, in terms of just a storyline, super interesting, the characters that were introduced, the way that I watched other journalists and their emotions. Because I mean, like I did cry. And it was the last time I think I cried in a Marvel movie was maybe Endgame. In a movie just generally, I think, was Endgame, and that was a long time ago. But I put the dress up there, and I definitely kind of end the review, make it quite short, not too obviously, again, kind of like ruin people's moments of, because they're also like fans and they really want to watch a good movie or whatever it may be, right? And the payoff will be, I'll be like, okay, just tell me about your, like, maybe just like, tell me about your favorite, Guardians of the Galaxy moments, throughout volume one, two, and three. Maybe one of the lines, maybe even the music, you understand, which is retro and very cool and brought a lot of the 80s, 90s, 70s even um, back to life. And in this particular volume, volume three, brings about the 2000s. We're hearing some great stuff like from Florence and the Machine, and so on and so forth. So the payoff really has to be about what it is that they're going to get out of this. So, like what are they going to do? Or again, what are they going to get out of it, right? So the listener that is listening passively is going to hear the responses, and also they've kind of come along with you on the journey. So as I, let's say, explain a little bit of the background of the MCU, like everyone who's anyone has watched a Marvel movie, and that's why it became so commercially acceptable. I know I'm talking to a large crowd of people as well. So when I do check the content piece that I might be choosing right now, I know it's going to actually work as long as I don't alienate the listener with too much technical, quote unquote, when I say technical, too much geek related stuff, right? To really alienate them. Because again, we must understand where they are. Again, the payoff it will be interesting, because there's so many great moments. It actually was one of the franchises that really worked really well in all three movies. And what the blackout is, it's so okay. The blackout is how you end the link. So I don't want you. There's two ways to kind of interpret this. The blackout can be literally you, giving out maybe the phone number, the WhatsApp number, where they could possibly, even if they want to DM you directly, or there is a post on, on social media that they can continue to comment on, or whatever it may be, right? Or give you obviously a call. Like you can do that, get obviously play a jingle, then go back to music, right? So that can be one way of interpreting the blackout. The other way is literally when you do come back, you do, obviously you do play the voice notes, you have the responses to them, so you can have a two-way kind of like put on a two-way, one-dimensional conversation. Maybe take a live caller, just obviously for more effect, so you can get that spontaneity of some character and personality as well coming from the listener, and then being like, how would you want to end that? And you don't have to be, again, kind of philosophical or whatever it may be. Like, you just have to end it so that we know this is the end of the link. The blackout can be confusing. It even confuses me sometimes just because of, I think, we see it like in, for example, like a methodology like this, and it's a rule, but it doesn't have to be complicated at all. You think, well, I mean, there's got to be something more than that. No, just end off nice and clear. And so that the listener also knows this is the end of the piece at the end of the day. Okay, so you're going to see a bit of that now when I show you the prep that I put up. Again, you might have seen it already, gone through it in a WhatsApp group, maybe on your own. Okay, so the presenter with the hook, the presenter starts by preparing the hook, which is the most important part of the link. Once again, so now what we're going to do is just go through them so you can just better understand in terms of theoretics how to put the stuff together, right? So it consists of the opening moment. You want to grab the listener's attention, right? You want to get hooked on the content, hooked on the moment. A presenter probably has around 8 seconds to grab a listener's attention, like I said to you, 7 to 20, right? When getting into a link due to people's shrinking attention spans. To stress the importance of the hook, some research tells us that 8 seconds is actually too long. So, like that is, I would say, connected to our short attention span. So, let's say before, like 20 years ago, I think we had an attention span of maybe it was maybe like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, or whatever it is, and every like 3 to 5 minutes, whatever it may have been. Um, like whoever was trying to get your attention or busy engaging with you, whether it be, let's say, for example, a lecturer, or you're watching a movie, or you're watching a series, or you're listening to music, or it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Like you would have to find a way to regain and spark up that attention, so that it continues, let's say 2 minutes after 2 minutes or 3 minutes after 3 minutes, whatever it may be. And the only reason why this is actually quite accurate, right, is because we live and we have been all trained and literally like brainwashed and rewired through instant gratification and the mass amount of finding information very quickly just by just typing in like a Google search or just a normal hashtag, clicking on something, and a lot of bunch of stuff just comes up. But because there's so much information, we start to we lose attention very quickly. Think of the way that you do scroll through social media. Like you waste a lot of time on social media, spend a lot of time on there throughout one day, even adding, like I said before, maybe an average of an hour and a half up to 3 hours a day is very realistic. And so the thing is that you must think of how you actually spend that time on social media. The majority of the time is literally you down, scrolling down, and scrolling down. You hardly ever actually click on, let's say, like I would say, like a middleman link, right? That will open up to a full article or let's say like a YouTube video or whatever it may be. You just kind of like maybe, or you don't like, and you might reshare. You don't. It doesn't really matter. Like you're just there to get like that quick kind of click, 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 click. I'm saying, like, imagine your brain as a camera that's just taking snapshots at the end of the day, and you're consuming that little amount. So this is why, not only because of social media, but I'm saying to you of the mass amount of overstimulation that we have and the options that we have, and so much that is happening around us. Like I say, overstimulation in the world that we live in today, which is factored into why our attention span and what we want to actually I would say I want to commit to at the end of the day. Doesn't mean we can't listen. I mean, you've listened to podcasts that are maybe 3 hours long or whatever it is, an audiobook, it doesn't matter. But remember that for you to have gotten to the end of that 3 hours, like this had to be a really good podcast, a really good audiobook, or for you to come back to it or whatever it may be. You watch movies as well, you watch TV, anything that doesn't interest you. We don't even give things a try anymore. Like we say, oh, let me just wait for like let me watch one or two or three episodes, see where this is going. That used to be a thing, a little bit like when Netflix was starting out and kind of obviously gaining some weight. Sorry, gaining some ground. And we would optionally give like 2 or 3 episodes to see where the story was going. If we liked it, we liked it, and we're a bit more tolerant. Nowadays, we say, oh, there's so much else that's out there. Like I've wasted my time enough, and I've dedicated enough, and I move on. Okay, not more to actually just continuously talk about that. Um, so let's move on with the hook specifically again, and then I think there's, like I said, there's those snapshots there. from your textbook. We'll move into some of that. The YouTube Insights team released an article titled The First 5 Seconds Creating YouTube Ads That Break Through in a Skippable World, right? We know, man, we know. We actually just wait for the, like, you can skip in four, three, two, one, and we just do it. But the thing is that obviously they've obviously latched onto the idea, they've got it clever, and they know that 5 seconds or 10-second ads are enough actually, and they're worth it because sometimes YouTube also, like, you can skip the first but you can't skip the second one. You actually have to sit through the next one that is, like I say, 10, maybe even 12, 15 seconds. I don't know, nothing more than that, right? Because it will frustrate you and you'll just actually say, oh, no, the video is not worth it really. um so we constantly, like, the media world is adapting, like then people readapt, and then the world media world readapts, and so on and so forth. So if we use this research and we want to apply it to a radio link, we have to really hook them in literally under 5 seconds. But the thing is, again, think realistically, what can you say in 5 seconds without making this profound statement, right? It is doable, but you have to have a little bit of practice in doing it as well. And you got to, when you are planning your content, think of maybe one, two, three, four different ways to start that link off and deliver that hook in a way that will capture their attention, like almost, well, 5 seconds is literally almost immediately, right? First 5 to 10 seconds. Okay. It's the first spoon of a delicious meal. If the first spoon is delicious, people are going to keep on, they're going to keep on eating. So here's some tricks and applications to help construct the hook. I'm just going to zoom in here and we'll play some of the audio. Just quickly zoom in here. And then we can just have some of the aspects that are pointed out. Excuse me, sorry about that. Right. This too far. Okay. So what follows are a few tricks and applications to construct a hook. Ask your listener a question, and that's a cool way. That's kind of straightforward. Again, it's that, like I say to you, it's a kind of mysticism that grabs attention. If it's a good question, people will be like, ah, let me start thinking about that at the end of the day, right? If it's done correctly, a question can spark a sense of curiosity, right? So when last did you watch something that was not that funny, but it reminded you of something really funny, and you burst out laughing so loudly that everyone whom you were watching thought you were mad? Okay. Do you see how that is not 5 seconds long, right? So it's a little complicated, right? But we can obviously kind of reconstruct that and make that a little bit smoother, maybe. So, for example, when last did you watch something? It wasn't that funny, but it reminded you of something that was funny. You burst out laughing. You looked weird. People looked at you weird. You knew you were weird. And then, you just sat there. Like, what was that moment? I can kind of, like, obviously, like, really, like, speed that up. It still makes sense in that nonsense manner. And that would be a great hook. When is it not appropriate to laugh at someone who fell? So, I mean, so we don't want to start that question. Maybe it's a little bit straightforward and boring, and be like, when has it been inappropriate for you to laugh at something that really actually was funny, but didn't make it, like, the right situation, right time, and definitely by you, not the right person, to giggle or burst out laughing at. So something like that. It's a little maybe too long. I kind of revise that and be like, inappropriate laughter. Let's like let's unpack this. We all know we've done it. We all know we were reprimanded for it, and then I can carry on. So that's a bit cooler. I kind of like that. These are examples of physically asking just a question. It starts the hook. That's the hook, and again, it obviously gets their attention, and it's kind of maybe rhetorical as well, because the things that you are going to be talking about, why this is now, for example, something that's a talkable topic, that's relevant, and obviously a reason for them to engage and want to be part of it. Set up the conflict immediately. So every great story requires conflict. conflict doesn't always mean fighting. It means an opposition of opinion at the end of the day. And so that's very cool. People like to share their opinion. We love to, and we promote that on radio by 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 really, like, that's rich conversation to open it up almost as if, so here's maybe what is fact. Maybe it's fact through perception or perspective, right? Maybe it's fact through, what we've seen as a trend, or what we've seen just around us, as kind of like frightening, or very, just it's just too raw, and it's quite traumatic, whatever it may have been. I don't know. Um, and we know that people have hot opinions on that. Let's say John, the co-host, John is arguing with me about this next piece and says, like, I may not post this video. So then everyone's gonna say, ah, but now what's John's problem? Ah, what have you put in the video? Is it like, I mean, like, they're gonna say now, maybe we're gonna agree with John, or maybe we're gonna agree with you. I have a problem. Do I post this video and risk losing my co-host, but make your day? So that's fair enough. Please don't take it again quite literally in terms of the format of that and how it's put out, but try and obviously kind of like capitalize and make it a little bit richer in terms of what you want to, say. So, without, let's say, really making John look like an enemy or an evil dude, and people can start hating on that because, we live in that kind of society. We don't want to create that. We want like healthy conflict, healthy, obviously, discussion and debate or whatever it may be. Okay, so more than likely, like, not to kind of pit, people against one another and be kind of like a shock jock just for the sake of doing that. You'd be like, well, I mean, look, by now you've listened to the show. Even if you listen today, even if you listen to this link right now, me and John are like poles apart. Right. So I got this video here. He's super conservative. He's been giving me advice like since yesterday when we were prepping, and I found this video. I was like, look, John, look, right, saying no, like he was my dad or something. I was like, John, you're not my dad. I posted this video, regardless. Sorry, John. Sorry, not sorry. And the response has been crazy. If you haven't seen it, go check it out now. But I'm gonna play a little bit of soundbite that that's going to definitely have us having a little bit of a conversation on both sides. Some of you guys out there, some of you rather, not you guys, please don't take plural. Some of you out there are a John team, and some of you are a me team, like team me, team John. We'll find in a moment, right? So you can see that that's obviously a much longer link, I'm saying, in terms of introducing it, but I wanted to kind of flesh it out with a little bit of more personality, um, and kind of encapsulate that in just a little bit, with a little bit more, like drama, like I said, some adequate drama. So make strong declarations and statements, proclamations, pronouncements, affirmations, or assertions, right? So, in other words, like make a statement, and people are gonna be like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this?" So, like, for example, if it was not for the fall, sorry, for that fall. Okay, there we go. So if it was not for that fall on the red carpet last night, the Oscars would have been a total bore. And a lot of people might have watched the Oscars. Most people actually just don't anymore because they actually are really boring. Um, and they kind of like they're kind of tacky in a way. But anyway, let me not start on my own like mission here about the Oscars. But this is cool. That's a great hook. And then we're like, yeah, I mean, that was the best part of the Oscars. I am, like an Oscar fanatic, but yeah, that was really funny, or that was chaotic, and ooh, that was embarrassing. And whatever you go forward with this is now going to obviously with define whether or not you are like you're gonna make or break that link again, because depending, this can be quite offensive, or depending, it could be quite persuasive. It might be just a little bit of fun, innocent fun. So it was not for whoever, provide the name of the actor, whatever it is, Tom Hanks, I don't know, tumbling down the red carpet. The Oscars would have been a waste of time. So that's a little bit more than we wanted to know. That's fine, even if you do go ahead and just say it straight out. It's a good enough hook. But you'd have to then afterwards, like I say, within the crumbs and with obviously the dress up and so, you'd have to then explain a little bit more as to why the Oscars were a waste of time according to you, and it would have to actually land factually, So perhaps you saw the responses, you saw how, like, I mean, the performances, the music performances were really badly executed. There was absolutely just no presence, and even a kind of buy-in from the people that did attend. So it was really missing that kind of like Oscar spark. And maybe you could play like something from the original Oscars, like the first, 10 years or so, where it was really like about class and about like, you know, um, like that kind of that fantasy that Hollywood makes, um, that glamour and all that greatness. Really like kind of like pull out this type of link. I don't focus. I see that the lesson does focus heavily on the hook, but as I explain, I hope you understand that we do like this is helping you a little bit more with again the crumbs and the dress up, and then again the payoff. What it is exactly that you'd wanna ask from your listener. Let's see some others. Okay, what do whatever it is. So again, whatever Tom Hanks and John, the co-host, have in common. Well, they are clumsy. Whatever it may be. I don't know. So from that, maybe I'd be like, okay, John, let's just quickly give him a little bit of hint. Like, can we just revisit again, what happened last week Tuesday, and then again what happened this week Monday? You know, that just makes you stand out. And John's gonna be like, come on, whatever, and we'll move from there. I'll be like, you, John, right now are the twin sister of Tom Hanks. So can you guess why a small tumble in the red carpet has created a war in the studio this morning? So, for example, like perhaps the one maybe the host is being a little bit too crass, a bit unfeeling, um, and going with a lot of social media responses that are breaking that actor down as opposed to kind of making it again kind of an innocent like shareable moment, and kind of like again dehumanizing them, and well, that's not really a good call for the host if that is the case, but John might be on the opposite side or vice versa. Okay, so there are a couple. I have enabled the sound, so I'm hoping this does come through. Sorry, just make this a little bit smaller. So as you know, on with the first years, I have provided so I provide the lessons directly to you. I've obviously shared that from my Google Drive, because a lot of you were saying, oh, like you can't really find it, or I don't know, you don't have enough from Call Campus. I'm not too sure. It doesn't matter. The point is that you can also go and find this lesson, play the hooks out, and see whether what you have to say about them. So I'm going to crit this one. Here we go. Hold on. One day you will have to answer to the children of the sky. Children of the sky. I love. Don't take no for an answer. No. I right here. Spread love. Everybody join together now. One voice, one heart, love and unity. Everybody say.
Some Bob Sinclair on the 947 Breakfast Club. Good morning. This is World Hold On. You know when you were in school and you woke up and you were going on school tour or school outing and you're just so excited? That's how I woke up about the Great Potato Bake Off.
I don't know much about potato bake, but I know that it's been cooked by you, and it's you, and it's Cindy, and it's Alex. We are going to eat potato bake. Baby, you and I got nothing but potato bake. I am so excited for the potato bake. Sing it down.
This is at 4:30 this morning, by the way.
As I leave the house,
Good times.
I woke up, I ran down the stairs, and I said, potato bake! And now we're here, and we've tasted, I must just say, Timbigile, he said, you know, like, teams shouldn't fly on the same flight in case the plane goes down.
Yeah.
I don't think we should all be tasting these potatoes.
This is true, guys. Imagine if we all die.
You're not going to die.
All right, scoring is in. Our head judge, Hezron from Something Fresh, got themselves a restaurant there in Norwood, also at every food festival. They are really the leading...
No, they're great.
Yo,
The
they're
food is
amazing.
great.
Oh, thanks, guys.
So,
Thanks, guys.
Can I just quickly talk about some cheating that nearly happened last night? So I was Instagram storying my attempt of baking.
Yes.
Cindy was screenshotting my story so that she could try to find my secret ingredients.
And I think I do know what it was.
We'll
But
find
anyway,
out.
moving on.
but I mean, it's like, I'm pretty sure Barcelona watched my Melody Sundowns.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And, I mean,
Wait, who's Barcelona here?
we'll decide.
I'll
It's
just be
not
quiet
about the
in my
ingredients,
Barcelona
eh?
corner.
It's about the love you put in the food.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of pause it there. So we obviously know that's Anele and the Breakfast Club. I do, like I said, I mean, we can play the entire link and just kind of analyze that as well. You notice by now that you can see exactly when the hook is started, where Anele began, and she was like, she made a statement. This is what was happening. Like, you won't guess, you will see, that type of stuff. And what happened this morning? It was great that they put in that audio. Obviously, this is pre-planned, and not pre-planned in the way that it was acted out. It's just that that's what we do with prep. You understand? It made for a really rich and obviously three-dimensional link so far, because we've had obviously the team come in at the right places. Everyone talks at the right time and adds value at the right time. And so now, like for now, like that, what you heard there was the hook and definitely the crumbs, and now as they get into the competition, they're going to now have the dress up. So it's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh,
Right.
No, it's true. Sir.
just say yes, Shiv. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Alex, not Alex. What's your name?
Frankie.
Yes, you.
It was so good.
All right. I'm gonna say that plate one. Okay, so if you're watching this on Instagram, you'll know. Plate one for me. I felt that obviously it wasn't nice and brown on top, and also there were the layers of potato in between the layers. I didn't feel like there was enough sauce in between the layers of
Okay.
So I'm scoring it a 6.5.
Okay.
Plate two for me, I really liked the onions. I thought the onions brought a little bit of a flavor to it, so I'm scoring it, and it's nice and brown on top. I really liked it. 8.5.
Okay. Temegile.
Oh, okay.
Plate
It's
one.
Mike. So, plate one was good. I don't know if it's because it wasn't as warm as the second one, but for me overall, it's a 6.
Okay, and then plate two.
Plate two was great, and like Frankie on plate two, I liked the onions and the different flavors. So that got a 7.
Okay, excellent. For me, I'm giving plate one a 5. It was too much gathering of ingredients.
And also the sauce was a little bit crumbly.
Yeah,
like
almost like a
texture,
scrambled
yeah.
egg. And then I'm giving plate two a 10 because that was delicious.
It's amazing.
It was amazing. Those onions, the crunch on top, the sauce, everything. Here's count for us.
I feel like the results are in because plate one was a valiant effort. I feel the potatoes were sliced. They were sliced a bit thick. The sauce, there was no sauce to speak of. It was eggs and scrambled eggs and potato in a plate. But valiant effort. I would give it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I would. But the
Just on the pause there, you can obviously see that it's quite a long link as well. If there is some crit to be said here, it's never really a great idea to be doing things like this, just only because of the fact that you'd like to see them eat it, as opposed to maybe hear them eat it, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a little bit like a little bit of the magic is lost, but because obviously this is it runs in line with the promotion. Like, this is what the sales and PR team have decided is the best way to execute the link, and the things that the team is actually doing not a bad job, right? So they're keeping it quite short so that the listener doesn't become too disconnected in terms of having to see, like, they don't have to see the plate, you understand, and they don't really have to see them eat it and whatever it may be for the link to actually work. They moved quite quickly into, like, again, like this total here, and we got enough. Like, we didn't want the whole team now, most Alex as well as Cindy and everyone else to also now add to this. Let's see what happens.
potatoes were cooked through.
Yes.
At least.
Yes.
You know, we'll give it that. You know, it needed
The oven did its
yeah,
job on
the
this
oven.
one.
I think they were parboiled.
What?
Pre-boiled.
Okay.
Were they?
No.
Plate two was potato bake.
It was, eh?
Plate two was potato bake. The sauce was perfect. It cooked well. The potatoes were thinly sliced. They had caramelization on the top. I felt the love. I almost hugged that plate.
I was licking it.
Yes, I
You
was
and I were
licking the plate.
licking
We
it.
were in there. We were like empty plate stock, eh?
Yeah. So, what are you going with?
So plate one, I'll give it a 5. Plate two, I'll give it an 8. The onions push it to a 10, though.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
So 8. So plate 1 gets 23 and plate 2 gets 33. Who does plate 1 belong to?
Plate one belongs to me.
You guys don't always see the why Alex and Cindy. So these are obviously these plates are obviously, and their servings are by them.
Come on.
Wait. Who does plate 2 belong to?
It belongs to the 2018 Great Potato Bake Off champion.
The 947 Breakfast Club.
Baby Rexa.
If you love the hits, do it. 947 loves you.
If I told you this.
All right, so I want you to see how that blackout actually. So there was the payoff there. You see, this wasn't a call out. It wasn't even an interview. This was a standalone link, which I'm glad they put this in as part of the prep. This particular lesson was prepped by Sharita, and it's a great way to actually show you that, for example, the payoff was finding out who the winner actually was. And then again, that blackout is that very short instance of how we immediately know when to cut the link and end the link and just move straight into music. So it was a great link. Really great. The last, I assume is the producer, just carried on a little too long, if I have to be over super critical. But again, everyone was there, everyone was present, everyone had a good time. The listeners also didn't miss out or feel disconnected or isolated in any way. And they did what they needed to do, and they got on with the job. So I'm going to encourage you to go and listen to obviously clips 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and give me what you like, your review of each one of these links, so we can discuss that in class. I'm going to stop recording there,